Did you know that Seneca once observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality"? But there is something even more profound the great minds understood. True power isn't in having an answer for every challenge, but in knowing which challenges to never accept and which questions to never entertain. When I was younger, I believed intelligence was about winning every debate. I thought that choosing not to engage was a sign of defeat. But years and a study of philosophy taught me that strategic silence, when consciously chosen, is the ultimate authority. There are questions that must never be answered, because in answering them, you surrender your peace, your autonomy, and your power. Today, I'll reveal 5 such questions, psychological traps that clever influencers have used for ages to gain leverage. They sound harmless, even caring, but behind them lies a hidden agenda. Napoleon Hill wrote of the necessity of a definite chief aim, a core purpose that guides all action. These questions are designed to cloud that aim. If you've ever felt trapped by a question like this, you're not alone. The way out begins with recognition. So let's understand how the principled individual maintains equanimity and why they choose silence where others rush to speak. Question 1. You seem really anxious. Is everything okay? I recall years ago at a critical family gathering, a relative approached me and said, with a look of faux concern, "You seem really on edge. Is everything all right at work?" Without thinking, I took the bait. "No, work's fine. I'm just a bit tired," I mumbled. That single admission changed the room's energy. Suddenly, I was seen as the stressed one, my opinions carrying less weight. It took me years to decode the trap. When someone asks, "Why are you so tense?" or "You seem worried," it's often emotional induction. By answering, you accept their premise that something is wrong with you. In justifying yourself, you hand over emotional control. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but your reaction to it that matters. The influencer seeks precisely that reaction to pull you away from your definite chief aim. When I learned to respond with calm detachment, simply stating, "I'm perfectly focused, thank you," and steering back to the main topic, I felt the power shift. You don't need to prove your calmness. Silence, born of self-mastery, becomes your armor. Never let others define your internal state. If someone tries to unbalance you, remember, equanimity is the most sophisticated form of strength.
Question 2. Don't you trust me? This is a favorite in negotiations, relationships, and even friendships. Whenever I'd set a boundary or ask for due diligence, I'd hear, "What, don't you trust me?" Instant guilt would follow. I'd think, am I being too rigid? Maybe I'm the problem. But I came to realize this question is seldom about trust. It's about control. It's an attempt to make you doubt your own prudent judgment. Napoleon Hill's mastermind alliance principle is based on harmonious cooperation toward a definite purpose, not on blind faith. The wise person doesn't distrust everything, but they don't confer trust without cause. Once, a business prospect pushed for a handshake deal on a complex project and hit me with this line. I paused and replied, "I trust in the value of clarity for both of us. Let's build a mastermind understanding and put the key points in writing." There was initial resistance, but it led to profound mutual respect. Real trust doesn't fear transparency. For the strategist, prudence isn't suspicion, it's consciousness. As Hill emphasized, true power comes from organized planning and intelligent cooperation, not coercion. So if someone pressures you with this question, breathe. Remember, those who truly deserve your trust will never demand blind faith. They will respect your process, because wisdom and respect are allies. Question 3. What are you hiding? This is perhaps the most invasive. I've heard it when seeking solitude or maintaining privacy. Why are you being so secretive? What are you hiding? In the past, I'd jump to explain, "I'm not hiding anything." It never worked, because an accuser seeking power isn't seeking truth. Seneca noted, "The wise person understands that some things are to be shared and some are to be protected." By answering, you accept the role of the guilty party. The manipulator asks this to breach your boundaries, to extract what is rightfully yours alone. To have a private interior world is not to hide, it is to preserve your mental sovereignty. Now, when faced with this, I respond calmly. Everyone has a right to their private thoughts. That doesn't imply concealment. Or I reflect it back. What leads you to believe I'd be hiding something? The simple act of returning the responsibility dismantles the game. You'll see the influencer often retreats because the goal was never understanding, but dominance. If someone repeatedly asks this, perhaps the issue isn't your reserve, but their desire to control your inner space. Question 4. Do you think you're better than us? This emerges when you begin to evolve, when you stop engaging in gossip, cease reacting to petty provocations, or simply choose to live with more discipline and purpose aligned with your definite chief aim. Someone will inevitably remark, "Oh, too good for us now, are you?" For a long time, I'd defend myself. "No, not at all. And I'd fall into the trap, because in justifying, you apologize for growing. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or foolish in the eyes of those who don't understand your aim." Growth requires humility, but humility is not self-abasement. I remember a lunch with former colleagues. They began cynically tearing down an absent associate. I remained silent. One smirked and said, "Look at him, too principled to join in." In that moment, I saw that silence disturbs those who are comfortable with noise. Therefore, when someone tries to shame you for having standards, respond with serenity. "I don't think I'm better. I'm simply being true to my principles." Or, "I respect your path. Please respect mine." The individual of purpose doesn't seek superiority. They practice persistence by staying true to their integrity and their definite chief aim, even when pressured to conform. And those who try to pull you down often cannot bear to see someone ascending.
Question 5. You won't get mad if I'm honest, right? This is the most disguised of all. It wears the clothing of candor, but carries a blade. It typically precedes a destructive criticism, masked as a brutal truth. In the past, I'd smile and say, "Of course not, go ahead." I almost always regretted it, because that permission became a weapon. This question directly exploits Hill's 6 basic fears, particularly the fear of criticism and the fear of disapproval. When someone asks if they can offend you, what they're really asking is how much disrespect you are willing to tolerate. Once, an acquaintance said, "Promise you won't take this the wrong way, but people are saying you're becoming arrogant." I took a breath, aligned with my aim of peace, and replied, "If this feedback isn't constructive and doesn't serve my growth, I choose not to receive it." They were speechless. I learned then that not every truth deserves an audience. Those who value genuine honesty speak with respect, not with a prefatory warning. If someone needs permission to offend, they already know they're crossing a line. Reply with wisdom. That depends entirely on what you intend to say. Or, if you think it might offend me, perhaps you should reconsider your approach. These responses hold up a window to their own intent, and you remain serene, refusing to play their game. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." This philosophy doesn't teach the silence of fear, but the silence of inner dominion. There will always be people who test your calm, who ask loaded questions just to see if you lose your footing. But remember, you are not obligated to play every game presented to you. Supreme wisdom lies not in having all the answers, but in recognizing which questions are unworthy of your answer. When you refuse to react, you are not retreating, you are commanding the field.
every time you choose silent mastery over impulsive reaction, you claim more freedom. As Napoleon Hill articulated, sustained persistence in your definite chief aim is the keystone of all achievement. Let your persistent calm be that achievement. Seneca reminded us, life is long if you know how to use it. The same is true of our interactions. Their value is not measured in duration, but in the quality of peace they leave in their wake. If this message resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel Stoic Strategies. Here you'll learn to cultivate unshakable calm, fortify your mind, and protect your inner peace one deliberate day at a time. And always remember, the strategic silence of the purposeful individual holds more power than the clamor of the distracted crowd.